Hey everyone, and welcome back to the 715. I'm your host, Riya Shankar, and today we have another guest. He's a musician, and the first step of his journey so far has been being a successful musician on TikTok. So, without further ado, please welcome Pranav Pannala. Thank you, Pranav, for being part of the podcast.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So it's actually 1 a.m. for you. And I remember that when we were trying to decide on a time, I was just a bit I was a bit concerned because you were just like, yeah, 1 a.m. my time works. So you're a night owl, right?
Yeah, I just feel creative at night. I usually like get my schoolwork and everything done earlier on in the day, and then night's the time where it's like it's quiet. I can just focus on whatever I need to do. There's common peace, um, and that's what I love about it. I'm usually awake at these times.
So for the listeners and for me as well, tell me more about yourself, where you're from, where have you been living, what are you studying, and when did you start your music?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm currently in New Jersey right now. Um, I actually grew up in Massachusetts, so I lived there for about 7 years. I was born there. Um, like my parents are originally from India. India, they're from Hyderabad,
Mm-hmm.
but I grew up in the U.S. all my life, and I'm 21 right now, and yeah, I just graduated. Um, and in terms of like my music journey, it started when I was like 5 or 6, and I started with classical Carnatic, like South Indian music.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time sort of progressed, I just got accustomed to listening to different music from all the way from like Western music, R&B, hip hop, and I was really influenced by that. But obviously, I had classical background growing up, so I wanted to focus in on this niche, combining those two areas, and I'm just discovering more things along the journey, learning a lot through the process. Um, but I definitely started from a classical background, and now I'm venturing out and doing more, fusion type of mashups and things like that. So it's been an interesting journey so far.
Wow, sounds really cool. So you said that you graduated. Congratulations, first of all, on graduating. So what did you study?
Yeah, thank you. I studied, so we have something called business analytics and information technology. So that's the major that we have. So I did that along with finance.
Hmm.
Um, so I studied those two things, and I'll be starting as a business analyst next month for a software engineering company, and definitely like the work side of things. Like I'm expecting that to be a big part of my life, but I hope to obviously like a huge passion of mine and something that I would really die for. So combining those two things and having that balance is really what's important to me.
How is New Jersey?
Um, it really depends where you are in New Jersey. Like
Mm-hmm.
you'll get a vast mix of things. Like from where I was from, I found a lot of people that were driven the same way that I kind of was. We have a heavy like South Asian community where I lived growing up. So I always had those kind of like friends around me, but there was also a diverse mix of like multiple different ethnicities.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but New Jersey is like a very, very different place from like town to town. But overall, like it's a place that a lot of opportunities because of its the proximity to all the major cities like Philadelphia, New
Mm-hmm.
York. I love New Jersey. Big fan.
So let's talk about your TikTok. So you have over 50,000 followers. How do you feel about that?
Um, it's been a journey. I mean, for me, I started off like obviously everyone starts off from nothing on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok, but like for me, it's never really been about like the numbers or whatever. I just love doing what I do, and I hope to channel like my TikTok growth ultimately into bringing those people to listen to stuff that I have worked on Spotify and streaming and stuff like that. Like TikTok is just like one part of the puzzle where I want to express myself as an artist.
Yeah.
It's like I want to use it as a tool so people can get a glimpse into like the way I think for mashups and stuff. But like for me, TikTok is just the beginning. Like I don't look at it as like
With a fan following comes hate. Experienced any of that or not really?
yeah, all the time. I mean, you scroll down, you see all that, and like, uh, like at first you're just like, what goes on through this person's head? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. But after a certain point, you realize like those people don't understand your story or where you came from, and like I honestly feel bad for those people. Like to go out of your way to try to make my day worse, like that means you don't love yourself. And like I've come to the realization like those kind of people, they're like it's on them at the end of the day. Like however they feel, that's how you feel. But for me, I'm gonna keep doing what I do, and I love what I do. I really love it. So that's on them. I can't really control that.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. So, I've seen quite a few segments on your TikTok where, like, I saw the Pop Smoke meets Bollywood one. I've seen I think I've seen the Travis Scott meets Bollywood one. So, so you actually like mash up songs, is that right?
Yeah, so I like the process for me, I'll find like two songs that are similar and I'll go through different beats on YouTube because a lot of producers, they put like free beats out on YouTube
Yeah.
where you're allowed to use them. Um so I'll like just in my free time go through beats, just trying to find the right vibe. Just get on the mic and start generating ideas and melodies, and eventually like I just combine everything together, and I start recording and mixing everything. And like it's like a free flowing process for me. Like once I get in the mood, it's just like I gotta keep going, and I love to do what I do.
Love Bollywood? How big of a fan are you?
I'm a pretty big Bollywood fan, but the thing for me is I actually grew up like I didn't watch too much Bollywood. My family's actually Telugu, and
Oh, okay.
like they're into like South Indian Telugu
Hmm.
type of stuff. So I was never really exposed to like Bollywood cinema stuff growing up. I mean, obviously like the very popular like movies and films I knew, but all throughout growing up it wasn't really like a lot of Bollywood. But then when I started going to high school, like everybody was obsessed with Bollywood. Like the people that I was around, like the friends that I used to meet,
Uh-huh.
there used to be like garbas and all these like
Yeah.
different events. Yeah, it was just much different from the classical stuff that I was really accustomed to all along. And once I heard Arjit Singh, like he's my main kind of guy that I look up to, and once I heard his stuff, it was all from there. Then my Bollywood, like I really started getting into it and listening to it, and then it became addicting for me, and that's how the journey kind of started.
Yeah. So have you seen any, typical Bollywood movies, like the classic ones?
I mean, I've seen the typical ones, but for me, like, it's just it's really long. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
the movies are like 3 hours, and I don't have the time to go and sit down. Like, maybe if I was young, it's different. Like watching with your families, those movies and stuff.
I don't know if you've seen some Bollywood movies that are like that can be very exaggerative, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
I think that's part of the culture.
Hmm.
Um, I think there's a certain humor that appeals to like families because Bollywood's like more of a family driven like industry. I mean, now I think it's a little different, but
Yeah.
um I think generally speaking, you kind of like you watch these movies with your family, and there's certain types of humor that appeals to like a lot of people. And I think Bollywood's always been about that, like, the over dramatic type stuff, and like the dancing, and it's
Yeah.
just like a fun like thing. Again, like 3 hours of it's a little much for me, but there's been some good movies I think over the years.
Oh yeah, definitely. So Arijit Singh, is he? Could you say that he's one of your role models?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Arjit Singh, like, yeah, it's crazy because I didn't even know who he was. I was just
Mm,
going through Apple Music on and I was just scrolling through random like influences for Bollywood because at the time like didn't know much about Bollywood, and then I heard his voice and I was like, who is this? And originally I couldn't find who it was. So in my mind it was like mental torture because that
mm.
same song was playing in my mind over and over again. It's like the worst feeling when you're trying to search up the song but you
Yeah,
don't remember
yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
it was you were listening to. I was in bed. I was just like, oh, whatever. And then um like actually a month after that I figured out who it was and I
Oh
figured out the
wow.
song, and then after that like I got addicted to it.
I remember that I actually discovered Arijit Singh quite late, like when he um when he sang in Ashiki 2, like Tum Hi Ho and Sun Raha
Yeah,
Hai.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was actually when I first heard of him. But before that, I I don't remember. Any other Bollywood artists that you like?
Yeah, I think what you were saying, Tum Hi Ho, that's when he kind of broke mainstream.
Yeah,
In terms of other artists, Atif Aslam, Shreya Ghoshal, A.R. Rahman's a big one for me.
yeah.
Um, Arman Malik, all these people. Yeah, A.R. Rahman for me specifically because like he has like his mentality when it comes to the production of the music, like he takes it to another level. Like he knows how to bring the best out of the artist that he works with.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as an artist, that's what I've learned because coming from background of a singer, I realized like in order to make it out as an independent artist, you need to put on different hats and not only think from the framework of a singer, but also like think about it from like the production standpoint to the end listener. Like there's so many different pieces involved, and I definitely think that his approach like taught me a lot about the stuff that kind of goes behind the scenes and what drives like emotions in people when they're listening to these songs.
Yeah, no, I mean now that you say that, I get that. So, last question. So, where do you want to be in the future with your music? Do you still want to be, on TikTok doing your thing, or do you want to be somewhere else? Because you said that it was a passion, but do you want it to, you know, go somewhere else?
Yeah, TikTok is just a start for me. Like I feel like my journey is just starting out. I mean, obviously it's been a long time figuring out where I want to be, but as I was doing this, as I was experimenting with TikTok and stuff on Instagram, my purpose is kind of solidified. I know like I have the vision in mind where I want to work on urban desi music, and I have like a path in my head of like how to get to where I want to be. I think TikTok is one part of it, but like now that I just graduated and the time before work, I'm definitely going to put in a lot of time to like making original music, and taking that same like Desi Western inspired theme to it where
Mm-hmm.
um maybe incorporating like different rags and aspects of like Indian music, and then combining that with like Western hip hop beats and like the stuff that I grew up with.
If you stayed till the end of the episode, thank you for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye bye. See ya.